Talking sales, right? Like I'd say, would you agree that that is a common problem with a lot of the guys that you work with, that they're not very good at doing the sales part of it? We're talking gym owners, but I feel like most businesses should have an element of sales within what they do.
You have to. Hey, brother, you want to train?
Yeah, yeah, that doesn't work. That doesn't work. But we all have to be salesmen. And when we say salesman, I think there's a stigma around. We're thinking used car salesperson, right? That's the automatic thought that you have. Absolutely. But as an electrician, as a tradesman, it doesn't matter what role you're in. You have
People got to find out about you.
Well, you're selling yourself.
If you're not selling yourself, no one's going to know about you. You could be the most technically gifted person in the world, but if no one knows about you, it's just going to waste.
Yeah. Would you find that that's a common problem, that people don't know how to sell?
Look, I think it's twofold. I think when it comes to sales, number one, there's a skill element. Sales is a skill. Yep. You've got to develop the skill. It's like any skill, whether it's a martial art or whether it's copywriting, whatever it is, you've got to develop the skill. And so you've got to do training, you've got to read the books, listen to the podcasts, you've got to do role play after role play, you've got to listen to your recordings, you've got to refine that skill. But then there's a second part of it. And the second part of it is there's just not enough people dedicating enough time, energy, and focus to sales. And I remember one of my first ever business coaches, he came in and he said, "Tell me how much time you do in marketing and sales." And I told him, I said, it's about 5 hours a week. And he goes, "What do you think would happen to your business if it was 30 hours a week?" I was like, well, it would grow. So then why aren't you doing that? Mm-hmm. And so we often are creatures of comfort. Even as entrepreneurs, as people that are self-employed, we will go to the thing that causes us least discomfort. That's our default setting. And for a lot of people, sales is uncomfortable. Why is sales uncomfortable? Because they haven't learned how to do it. They still have that stigma associated with it, and so they will avoid it. Yeah, their fear of rejection, and they see that it's personal. It's not personal at all, right? And so they will avoid the thing that's uncomfortable, and therefore not put enough time, energy, and focus that it deserves.
Do you think that's a lot more in this new generation? Like, I feel like with texting, with social media, with not having these face-to-face conversations, everything's done electronically now. And I love that face-to-face interaction with my clients. I try to get clients off of Zoom. I know some advisors have transitioned to it, but for me, it's how they sit in the meeting, where they look when I present a strategy to them, how they're looking, how they look at their partner. I feel like I need to have that in front of me. But I feel like that's kind of being lost in this new generation of texting and social media.
I think we want the easy way out, right? And so the easy way out is to send a text or to send a DM. I grew up picking up the phone. I worked in telemarketing. I worked in sales. So we'd have to make hundreds of dials, and that's a skill that is getting lost. And yet it's still just as important today as it was 10, 20, 30 years ago. Yes, the sales conversation has evolved, but people will avoid it because, again, no one picks up, they're not interested, I don't want the rejection, and they are leaving money on the table.
Yeah, well.
Working in a call center was the best thing I did.
So good, right?
Yeah,
like
because you are rejected. You're making 100 calls a day. You're changing it a little bit to tweak it. All of a sudden, those conversations change. You're not getting rejected anymore because in that 15 seconds, you've worked out how to keep them on the phone. And
Very similarly, I worked, when my first job actually was in real estate. And what's the first thing you have to do? When you start real estate, you have to door knock.
Open the door, yeah.
And I had to go, and I was in the middle of Liverpool, Western Sydney, and knocking on doors. You can imagine as a young, pup, what I experienced there, doors slamming and people telling me to go away and things like that. I had to be crafty. Mrs. Smith would open the door and I'd have to make note of her nicely cut hedges before then I had to start the conversation. So you had to find ways to connect with people. And a lot of, when I've asked my guys to pick up the phone and make the phone call, they really do avoid doing that. They'll only ring once when we're told to double dial. We're all the strategies that I've learned from Dan and the team, they just don't want to do it.
Or they'll send an email back saying, "Oh yeah, I emailed them." Yeah, but I told you to call them.
Yeah, because there's no follow-up.
So you want, and they're like, "Do you want me to call them now?" Yeah, no, I wanted you to call them before. Yeah, call them now.
Yeah, or now's not a good time.
Yeah.
They talk themselves out of it. So sales is such a big component.